All right, we're good to begin.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Good to see you. We'll go ahead and get started. And I think, Kathy, you're presenting Waiver A.
Yes, I have a waiver from Morehead State University. They've submitted a request to waive Regulation 16 KAR 5040 Section 5 for their student Caleb Paul, who is an art education K through 12 major. The regulation states that when a candidate is pursuing a K through 12 certification, that the placement is split between elementary and middle school, high school setting. Due to the extraordinary circumstances and in light of COVID-19 pandemic, Rowan County has asked that their student teacher, Paul Caleb, not be placed in an elementary, or Caleb Paul, sorry, not be placed in an elementary building. So they would like for his placement to be divided between a middle school and a high school.
Okay. Do we have a motion to?
Chair, just real quick, Kathy Jackson with, this is Kathy Gunn's first full meeting. Maybe, and Crystal as well, if you all would kind of explain maybe where, why we have to, I know you just said because of the regulation, but kind of what we've done and then why we have to give this to the waiver committee and what waiver committee usually does, I think might be instructive.
Okay. Do you want me to do that or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. When we have student teaching placement, I just do the student teaching. And if it doesn't apply to what the regulation says, or they have to ask for a waiver. And that goes to the committee first, and then it's presented to the board. And the waiver committee will either support it or they will deny support. So.
And typically in these situations, we have approved these types of waivers, correct, Kathy?
Yes. This is an odd one because, I mean, you can find elementary placements in music and in art, but because if you're in art or music, which is enrichment, you would have contact with every student in the building rather than just a class like you would have in middle school and high school. So that, and during this pandemic, I think that's what they're trying to avoid.
Do you all have any questions for Kathy? Okay, then I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second? And Kathy, I guess you're going to have to second if you approve it anyway.
Kathy Gunn, right?
Yes.
I can't. Okay.
Right.
We might have to go by my middle name because this is going to get confusing. So it's Chanel, and I go by Chanel at school, so that's fine with me.
Okay.
That'll make life easier. And yes, I do second the motion. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we have the motion. Any further questions or discussion? All right. If you approve the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Or you can raise your hand. That's good, Kathy Gunn. Okay. Those opposed, no. All right. Then the motion carries. All right. Waiver 2.
Okay, this is also from Morehead State University, and they submitted a request for that same section for their student Caitlin Gation. I have no idea how to say her name. She is a music K through 12 major, and it's the exact same situation. So but it's Boyd County, and Boyd County has asked that they place her in a middle and a high school situation for their student teaching experience. So, any questions?
All right. Then I need a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the waiver for Caitlin G.
Okay. Thank you, Kathy Gunn. Do you have a second?
Yes, second.
Okay. Thank you, Josh. Any further discussion or questions? All right. If you approve the motion, please signify by saying aye or raise your hand. Okay. All right. Those opposed, no. All right. The motion carries then. Waiver C.
This is me again. No surprise, it's the exact same motion, and it's for Natalie Gation, who I'm sure is the twin of the other, and she's a K through 12 music major also, and she will be going to Boyd County. They've asked that her placement be in middle school and high school rather than the elementary building. So do we have any questions? And I will present this more formally at the board meeting. So.
All right, then I need a motion.
Make a motion.
I second.
Okay. Any further discussion, questions? All right, if you approve the waiver C, signify by saying aye. Raise your hand. Okay. Those opposed, no, or raise your hand. All right, thank you. Waiver D.
Good morning. Waiver D is requested by Fairview Independent Schools on behalf of Carrie Price. So this waiver is a waiver of 16 KAR 2120 of the section that limits the number of emergency certificates that a teacher can have. Under excuse me, under 2120, a person can have a second emergency certificate if the first emergency certificate was issued for either less than 50% of the teacher's schedule, or for if it was issued after February 15th of the school year. In this case, Carrie Price had a previous emergency certificate during the 17-18 school year for less than 50% of her schedule and gifted. So the district then submitted for a second emergency certificate under the regulation for the 18-19 school year for gifted, which was also less than 50% of her schedule that year. In this case, Ms. Price has since enrolled in a gifted education program and is on the 2-year probationary certificate for gifted. But now the district needs a third emergency certificate. This would be the first waiver request of this that the district has asked for, because they need her to fill in for the remainder of the school year as a library media specialist. She plans to enroll in the library media specialist program, and once she's in the program, there is the library media specialist recruitment program, and there is a certificate that can carry her forward until she can finish that program for 3 years. But in this case, the district is requesting a third issuance of the emergency certificate, but it's the first waiver that they have requested in this case. Any questions?
Crystal, if I remember correctly, I think we've had similar types of things that we have approved because they are working toward the...
Yeah. Not exactly like this one, but yes, similar when they've got a plan in place and they're working towards completion. And I've talked to the superintendent about this, like kind of what needs to happen next for the district, so they wouldn't have to request a future waiver.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, is Josh still with us? I lost his picture.
I don't know.
Josh, are you still online?
I think he just tried to answer, but we couldn't hardly hear him.
He did say he was having issues. He may have to join by his phone.
Okay.
Hey, I'm back.
Oh, okay, good. All right. Okay, so we need a motion for waiver D.
I make a motion that we grant the waiver for emergency certification for the until she gets the alt certification program.
Okay, thank you, Kathy Gunn. And I need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Josh. Any further discussion or questions?
Do we have something in place if she doesn't get accepted to the media specialist alt certification program?
Well, at this point, what I explained to the superintendent, because there is another pathway called the proficiency evaluation, and that would be the only other route that she could pursue. But the school media librarian recruitment program, once the person has been admitted to that program, because technically it's not really an alternative certification program, it's a traditional program, but it's an advanced program for already certified educators. They have to have at least 9 semester hours of coursework that counts towards that program. And correct me if I'm wrong, Sherry, but EKU has that program. Aren't they one of the universities that has that program, the school media? I'm pretty sure they do. And
you does also.
And so when the person has completed at least 3 courses from the program, and it can be coursework that they've previously completed that counts as transfer credit, then they qualify for a 1-year probationary certificate. And then that certificate can be renewed for 2 additional years. So it's very similar to an alternative certification program, but it doesn't have that tag of alternative certification. In the event that somebody doesn't pursue the coursework or doesn't apply for admission to the program, I don't see why, somebody who's a certified teacher already wouldn't qualify for admission unless they just didn't follow through with it. Then the only option is emergency certification, which at this point, she would have exceeded her options for emergency certification without a waiver.
Any other questions? Okay, then we have a motion and a second to approve waiver D. If you approve the motion, signify by saying aye or raise your hand. Okay, thank you. Those opposed, no. All right, then the motion carries. Waiver E.
Okay, waiver E is requested by JCPS teacher Courtney Harris. This is a waiver request of the rank 2 regulation, which is 16 KAR 8020. Ms. Harris is enrolled in U of L's program for middle school social studies certification. She has a previous master's degree in public administration, and she's requesting that previous master's degree be counted as a content area degree towards a social studies certification. Our practice has been that if a person enters an option 6 program and they have a master's degree that's in the content area for which they're certified, that they are eligible to go ahead and receive the rank 2 while they're in the temporary provision or while they're in the alternative certification program. And for the most part, that's not been an issue, but then occasionally you'll have people that have these master's degrees in a gray area that's kind of in the content area, but maybe not fully in the content area, which is where we are here. We did have for those of you that weren't involved or weren't on the waiver committee previously, I believe it was in 2018, we had a similar circumstance where we had an option 6 candidate for LBD special ed certification who had a master's in rehabilitation counseling, and the board in that case had approved to accept the degree towards a rank change, but not until the option 6 program was completed. So that was the closest previous example I could find to this one. So So go ahead, sorry.
Oh, so how closely is a master's in public administration and content matching middle school social studies? It doesn't seem like it would.
So I looked at the transcript here, and let me scroll down in the documents to the transcript. A social studies teacher obviously can teach content in history, government, political science, sociology, psychology, economics. There's probably one or two in there that I'm forgetting. I did see in her master's degree, she does have a couple econ classes in there. It's a lot of public policy. It's a lot of the policy process, financial management. Like I said, this is one that I expressed to the district that this one's kind of on the fence. It could go either way. And Ms. Harris did want to at least pursue trying to see if it could be approved for the rank 2. But again, she does have a couple courses in there for economics, which does fall underneath the social studies content, and the rest of it is you all, I believe, have the transcript there in the documents as well, and you can kind of look at the course number or the course names in there just to see without me having to, unless you need me to read them down the list.
Do you all have more questions, or do you feel comfortable at this point making a motion?
I feel comfortable making a motion to approve. And maybe because I'm a social studies teacher and a lot of the policy stuff goes along with government. So.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'm sorry, I missed that discussion with my computer lagging out. I don't feel comfortable.
Okay, we have a motion to approve waiver E, Josh, but Crystal can she can share again because we certainly want you to have all the information.
Right. Absolutely. So and I'm not sure where you dropped out at, Josh, but Ms. Harris's previous master's degree is in public administration. There is some coursework in her degree that's specific to economics, which is a sub-content area of social studies. This degree is in one of those gray areas. If it had been a master's degree in history, we wouldn't be here in this, waiver committee. We would have already made that determination. But where a lot of that coursework is public policy, and is not, it's kind of in that gray area. But it, as Ms. Gunn did mention, it, in her interpretation, it does fall under the area of government. So the determined area, the request that's being asked for here is, can this degree count as her rank 2 while she's going through her MAT program? So when she finishes the program, she would finish up with a rank 1, but she would be able to be paid as a rank 2 teacher while she's in the program, is what the ultimate goal is here.
So Josh, Kathy made a motion to approve waiver E. I do need a second. We can also go into some discussion, but whatever you think.
That'll work. Kathy, being a social studies teacher, my wife's a social studies teacher, so I trust Kathy's expertise there. So I'll make a second.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion or questions? Kathy, I have a question for you. Kathy Gunn, I have a question for you. So on the policy, as you look at her packet and transcripts, you feel comfortable that it covers a lot of content that a social studies teacher would need or not?
That's not, my thinking is about the type of thinking it takes in order to earn her degree, and then couple that with the program she's going through now and the amount of studying she has to do to pass the praxis, which will force her to learn the content. So the type of thinking necessary for that policy applies to government and how governments operate and how rules are rules and all that stuff. So that's my thinking.
Okay. All right. That's great insight. Thank you. Any other discussion or questions? Okay, if you approve the motion, to approve waiver E, please signify by saying aye or raise your hand. Those opposed, no. Okay, the motion carries. All right, I believe that's everything we have. And anything else, Crystal or Kathy, from you all?
I have nothing else.
All
Thank
right.
you all.
Okay, well, thanks everybody. Rob, anything else for this group?
No, I really appreciate the conversation and you all really considering from some different angles these waivers. And I agree. I think especially in a teacher shortage and when we're not requiring masters, if we have people who are advancing their studies that in maybe some different ways that support their learning and their content knowledge, I appreciate the consideration for those candidates. So with that, that'll give you about 8 or 9 minutes to refill your coffee cup before we're back in for the long haul. Thank you all very much.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thanks to our team for having everything ready. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Crystal and Kathy.
You're very
Thanks,
welcome.
you all.
Right.
Bye-bye.